Today we're making turbans for chemo patients. Recently I found out that a family member of mine has found out that they have cancer and they are going through chemo right now. So they are losing their hair. Told them that I would make some chemo caps for them. Chemo caps is a very generic phrase used for anything you can put on your head to keep your head warm and to kind of hide your hair loss when you are in chemotherapy and you've lost it. I have 3 turbans that I have made. The video will show this one. We'll show this fabric, so I'm going to show you how to make this particular one, but I made 3. So I made one in a black, and you guys might recognize this fabric from my prior raglan sleeve pattern t-shirt hack, because this is leftover material for that. So this is a very soft, very stretchy fabric. And for the third one, I found this crushed velvet. It's in a rose gold kind of color, and it's very stretchy as well. So all this is knit. And so let's get on to the video.
So when I started looking for chemo caps or hat patterns, I went on Pinterest. Pinterest is the place I usually go to look for things. I don't think I've had an original thought in my head since Pinterest came around. But anyways, I went there and I found these instructions. It's how to make a turban for a chemo patient. I downloaded this and printed this out from guideposts.com. So if you go to guideposts, as in multiple, more than one, guideposts.com, and search for their chemo hat turban pattern, or the gathered turban. This is where I found the directions to put the hat together. So the first thing I did was pick out my fabric. Now, you'll know in one of my last videos, I made a raglan sleeve shirt, and I have this very, very stretchy stretch. It stretches a lot. See how much stretch it has? So we want a fabric, a knit fabric that stretches a lot. So not so much this way, but a lot this way, like this. So when you cut out your fabric, you're going to cut out your fabric like this. You want the stretchiest part going across this way. So you want to be able to stretch as far as you can. And when you lay your fabric down, you need to have 24 inches across and 13 inches in width. And then they're going to have you cut off of one end 4 inches. So then you'll need to cut a strip off that's 4 inches by 13 inches. And that'll be cut off the actual 24. So your final pieces is 20 by 13 and then 13 by 4. So at this point, you're going to, with your right sides together, right sides facing each other, you're going to fold it like this. So once again, we want to keep the stretch like this. We want the stretchiest stretch to be like this. And we're going to line up our edges here. Okay, when you're done pinning everything together, you still want your stretch this way. So when you stretch it, you get all your stretch this way. So you take your 13 inches, fold it over, match up your 13-inch side, and the right sides are on the inside. You want to make sure your right sides are facing. Right sides go together on the inside. Flip it over, boop, like this. According to the directions, you want to have your fold on the left-hand side. So our stretchy is still going this way. Now we have our fold here on the left-hand side, and we're going to have to mark our pattern. So from this corner, so our fold is on this side, from this corner we're going to take 1 inch, and since I have my self-healing mat right here, I already know where 1 inch is, right here. So mark it in my yellow. So from that inch, and we're going to draw a curved line till about here in the middle, so about right here. So we need a curved line, so like the shape of a head, just a line that curves around like this. So just kind of, and we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So after 3 different tries with 3 different markers, I found my purple pen. This is non-washable, so this is in here for good, but I'm going to cut on this line anyways, or I'm going to sew on this line, so it won't matter. using my purple pin here, 1 inch from the fold, that's going to be a hole, and we're going to sew in this curved shape here all the way to here, and that's about in the middle of the side right here. And then we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch straight down, so just like right there. So just that curve right here all the way down to the end. So the only hole that we're going to leave is right here in the corner where that fold is. So I'm going to go sew that and I'll be right back. Okay. So I started here at the top where the hole was, and I have left a long string because we're going to need it later. So it's like 2 or 3 inches of tail right here. I backstitched right here so that that won't pop open anymore, and I did a stitch, and I actually did it on the inside of that line, so that way when we flip it inside out you won't see the purple, so any of the markings that I have here will not show up. So I made sure to stitch on the inside of the line so the purple doesn't show up later. It'll be hidden on the inside, and I stitched it all the way down. Now I'm going to serge it. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to serge this edge, so this part will be cut off and it looks a little more professional and neat on the inside. If you don't have a serger, just do a zigzag or do the overcast stitch on your sewing machine, or whatever stitches you have on your sewing machine that overcast the stitches so that you can get the same look. Okay, so here you go. So now I've got my serged edge on the inside, so it's nice and soft and covered. I left my tail here, which I will trim. And I'm going to trim this tail up here. And there we go. And I still have the hole. So that hole here is still open. We need that all the way around. So still open hole here. So the next thing we're going to do is fold this up about 1 inch. The instruction says 2 inches. But I'm not comfortable with 2 inches. I think 1 inch would be enough. So I'm going to open it using, and I use my thumb for measurements because I know from the tip of my thumb to my knuckle right here is approximately 1 inch, and I know from this knuckle to this knuckle here is approximately 1 inch. So I'm going to use my thumb to measure 1 inch around. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my cover stitch machine and do the cover stitch over the hem so that it looks like this on the inside. Let's see, so it looks like that on the inside. So you have black thread here so you won't see it, but it's 2 rows of stitching going over my hem, and then the inside looks like that, and it allows you to keep the stretch in your stretchy knit fabric. But if you don't have a cover stitch, go to your sewing machine, use the zigzag stitch. You have stretch stitches on your sewing machine. And if you don't, if you only have a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, use a zigzag stitch, and it helps keep the stretch as well. So this band is what you would see right here. So right here on this turban is a circular piece just like this, and this is what we're going to do next. So this band, you're going to take your piece, fold it right sides together, the 13 inches to the 13 inches. So just like this, you still want to have a long piece. So now I'm going to straight stitch on my sewing machine 1/4 inch down here. Now that we got our band done, it's been sewn down the long side, the 13 inches, we're going to flip this one inside out. Just like that. And we're going to set this aside because we have one more step to do before we put everything together. So according to the directions, in order to get some of the gather on the hat, this is going to be the part that goes behind the head, what you want to do, you want to run 2 running stitches down that back seam. Not directly on the back seam, but on either side of that back seam. So you'll run the stitches from the bottom right here just above the hem, and you run a running stitch all the way to that hole, so where you stopped stitching the first time around. So right, the same line right here. Now, they said to do it by hand. I did mine by machine, and I think it looks all right. I mean, you can definitely tell. And so when you do this, see, for this one on the black fabric, I use black thread. If you want your stitches to be hidden, you need to make sure that you match your thread. If you don't match your thread, your stitches are going to show, and then you'll be able to see everything that's going on here. So right now I'm going to run 2 long basting lines down this seam right here, and I will be right back to show you what I've done. Okay, so I did the 2 lines of stitching on each side of my seam. At the beginning and at the end, I left long tails. So I have long tails at the top and the bottom. So what I'm going to do right now is here at the top, I'm going to tie these tails together. So both the tails from each side, I'm going to tie together into a knot. Okay, I did 4 times. And now I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it straight by the knot, but I'm going to leave like 1/4 of an inch, and there we go. Now down here at the bottom, I'm going to take the 2 top tails and put them out of the way. And I'm going to take the 2 bottom tails, the ones that's on the right side. I'm going to hold on to them, and I'm going to scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. So we're going to scrunch up our fabric until we hit the top here. Now at this point, it doesn't say in the directions how tight you should do this. I just kind of did it by feeling. I inched it up, or ooched it up. I ooched it up. So I don't have it super duper tight. I just kind of tight enough, I guess. So this is where you guys can figure out how you want to do it. Do you want to do it super tight or not tight enough? I mean, this is going to be for the back of the head anyways, and you want to make sure the back of your head's covered. So this is what mine looks like. So it's about 7 inches. It's been gathered into about 7 inches. And then I'm going to need a hand needle. So what you're going to do with this needle, you're going to take the threads that you held on to as you crunched everything up. So the ones here on the right side, you're going to thread your needle and thread it so that these threads get pushed to the wrong side of your fabric. So I'm threading my needle with both the threads so I don't have to worry about doing it one at a time. I'm just going to do both of them at once. I'm just going to push through here where it just looks the most natural. And there we go. So I have the front threads, or the threads on the right side, have been pushed through the fabric to the wrong side, or the inside of the hat. And now I'm going to take all 4 threads that were a part of my gathering stitch, and I am going to tie them together in a knot, just like we did at the top of the hat. And I'm going to trim those to about 1/4 of an inch. There we go. And there we have that part. So now we're going to flip this out. So that's what the back looks like so far. So that's the back. You can see the stitching there. So if you really want to have it not show, make sure you get a matching thread color for your fabric. And I'm going to take these 2 threads right here that you can see from the top, and I'm going to put them in my needle and push them through to the other side. So all my thread ends are pushed to the inside. And then I'm going to take them and just stitch them in here into my seam allowance, because I should have included these thread tails when I did the original knot here at the top. So I would have had all of them in there together, but I did not, because I'm a goofball and I did not get that step done. Okay, so now this part is done. Before you put this into the hat, you want to make sure your seam is folded so that it lays flat. It's not on the side, but it's in the middle here. So that way it'll always be hidden against the hat. So when you have the hat together, it's always like this. So take one end, push it through that hole in the top. So that seam is going to be hidden against the hat, and we're going to push it in just like this, through that hole. This is how you do this. You have your band, seam is down the middle, this way, so that we're all in the same spot. We're all in the same spot here. And we're going to take it, we're going to fold that edge down, and fold that edge down, put those edges together like that, just like that, holding it right there just like that. See, raw edges together, and then we're going to open it up here so it's on the inside. So we see that seam right here. See that seam? And then we're going to grab the raw ends that are now, so the seam lines are now facing out, our raw edges are together, and that's where we're going to stitch at. Right. So there's your circular band, and you just happen to have a hat hanging off of it. Seam is on the inside, raw edges are toward the inside. Now if you have a lot of raw edges, you can trim it off. Just trim off those edges so that they're not that bothersome. Just, there you go. So you're going to take those edges and you are going to, so at this point our hat's nearly done. We're just going to secure that opening right here where the hole is. So I'm going to take my band and I'm going to push it so this raw edge is up by the hole. And we're going to hand stitch those raw edges to the band right here, and we're going to pin that raw edge to the band. That's where we're going to stitch at. So underneath there's our raw edge, we're going to stitch it directly to the band, and then the top, those are the raw edges here at the top, and we're going to stitch it directly to the band. So the band will be laying against the hat, raw edges when everything's flipped out will be laying here, and it won't be laying directly against the head. And unfortunately there's no way to do this on a sewing machine that I know of. If you happen to know a way, please show me. But I don't know how to do this on a sewing machine, so this is going to be stitched by hand. Just a simple running stitch, in and out, in and out, in and out, to secure with the thread. So I'm going to do that real quick. Well, crud, I got a knot in it. It'll survive. Alright, so it's not the prettiest on the inside, but you fold it over, and there you go. And then the person who wears the turban can adjust the gathers here in the front. So you have all your gathers here in the back, here on the back, that's the back of the head. The person who wears the turban will be able to adjust the gathers here on the front. And there you go. And that's it. And you're all done. So here's the first one. And there's the second one. And I'm going to make one more out of this fabric, but I'm going to do this one off camera.
Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you would. Share this video could. And if you are not subscribed, go down and click the subscribe button. We have a lot of videos here on this channel, and I would like to share this with you guys as much as possible. And if you find that you want to share this with somebody else, share this with somebody else. Spread the love. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you take this information and share it with those around us. And I will see you guys in the next video.